I never thought a Tuesday morning would change everything. I was sipping coffee on my porch, watching the sun bounce off the hood of my perfectly clean work truck parked exactly where it had been for the past 4 years. Same spot. Never a problem. That's when I heard it. Clank. Clunk. Arrrrrrrrrrr. The unmistakable sound of a tow truck hooking up to something that didn't belong to them. I shot up, nearly spilling my coffee, and ran out, heart pounding. And there it was, my truck, being lifted off the ground like it was some forgotten junker. No warning. No notice. No mercy. The HOA president, standing smugly nearby, arms crossed, gave me a little wave like this was all routine. That vehicle violates visual harmony, she said with a smile so fake it could have come out of a wax museum. But this wasn't routine. It was personal. And they had just declared war on the wrong guy. You ever had someone mess with your livelihood, smile while doing it, and then hide behind a rulebook? Yeah. That's when I knew I wasn't just getting my truck back. I was going to get even. Stay with me because the story gets wild. Towing was just the opening shot. They thought they'd break me with fines and bylaws. But I had a plan brewing. And by the end? Let's just say the HOA ended up towing something of their own. Their reputation. I live in a quiet little cul-de-sac on the edge of a master-planned community. The kind where lawns are required to be exactly 2.5 inches high, mailboxes have to be regulation beige, and everyone waves with that Stepford smile. We moved in 5 years ago, and at first, it was fine. Peaceful even. But peaceful has a price tag. In our case, it came in the form of the HOA run by a woman named Cheryl. Or as we call her, Chairwoman Karen. Now, Cheryl wasn't just a rule enforcer. She lived for the rulebook. She had laminated copies of the Candars in her purse, and I swear she got a dopamine rush from issuing citations. It started small. A passive-aggressive note about my trash cans being visible for more than 14 minutes after collection. Then a $25 fine because a guest parked partially on grass. Then she started targeting my truck. I'm a contractor. That truck is my business, my life. It's clean, no logos, nothing loud. But Cheryl called it industrial. Said it brought down the neighborhood aesthetic. I pushed back politely. Even showed her the bylaws. Nowhere did it say I couldn't park in my own driveway. That's when the real games began. I started getting violation notices every week. One said my front porch light was too bright. Another said my kids' sidewalk chalk drawings were graffiti. Then came the warning. You'll need to remove the truck or face action. I didn't think they'd actually do it. Until they did. That morning, watching my truck disappear, Cheryl's smug face, the silent neighbors peeking through curtains. It was like something snapped. But here's the thing about messing with people like me. We build things for a living. And that includes payback. After they towed my truck, I had to rent one just to get through the week. Meanwhile, the HOA kept sending letters. $150 tow fee. $50 per day storage. $75 parking violation. They were trying to bury me in bureaucracy. I called the towing company. They said they were authorized by the HOA and wouldn't release the truck until I paid in full. So I went to the next HOA meeting. Calm. Professional. Just wanted to talk. Cheryl barely let me speak. If you can't follow community standards, perhaps you should consider moving. I laughed. Loudly. That didn't go over well. Next week, I got a formal warning for disruptive behavior at meetings. Then it got bizarre. One morning, I found orange paint on my driveway. Another day, my mailbox was mysteriously unhinged. I installed a camera. Then the HOA sent me a letter saying it wasn't in harmony with community aesthetics. Oh, and remember the chalk art they called graffiti? Cheryl actually photographed it and reported me for defacement. My 6-year-old drew a unicorn. Still, I kept quiet. Because I was collecting. Paper trails. Emails. Pictures. Videos. HOA documents. Timestamps. Neighbors' testimonies. And I started talking to people. Turns out I wasn't the only one Cheryl had steamrolled. An elderly couple got fined for wind chimes. Another neighbor had to paint over her flower pots. I dug deeper. And guess what? Cheryl was approving enforcement actions without full board votes. That's a violation. So I filed an official request for financial records. Cheryl denied it. Again, against HOA bylaws. That's when I knew it was time. Time to stop playing defense. Time to flip the board. Step 1. Organize. I started a private group chat with a few neighbors. Shared my story. Shared proof. The photos. The fines. The truck incident. Word spread like wildfire. Turns out, Cheryl had racked up more enemies than friends. We began attending HOA meetings in numbers. Calm. Respectful. Armed with questions. Step 2. Paper. I filed a formal complaint with the state's HOA regulatory board. Attached all documentation. Fines, photos, bylaws. I also submitted a separate complaint to the Department of Consumer Affairs for abuse of authority. Step 3. Go public. I posted a detailed account on the community forum with receipts. The photo of my towed truck. The quote about visual harmony. Even screenshots of her email telling me to consider relocating. Neighbors were furious. But the cherry on top. I uncovered that Cheryl had authorized a landscaping contract. With a company owned by her cousin. No bid. No vote. No disclosure. That was illegal. We called for a special board meeting. Petitioned for a vote. And it passed. Unanimously. The final meeting was something out of a movie. Cheryl sat there, stone-faced, while one neighbor after another stood up and spoke. About her threats. Her fines. The way she turned the neighborhood into a fiefdom of fear. When it came my turn, I didn't gloat. I stood up, showed a picture of my truck being towed, and said, this isn't about a vehicle. It's about power misused. And people finally standing up. Then I slid a printed email across the table. The one where she admitted knowing the towing violated HOA rules. Silence. Someone whispered. She's done. That night, Cheryl resigned. Effective immediately. The board voted to reverse all her recent violations, including mine. And my truck? It was returned. No fees. No fines. But that wasn't the best part. The best part was watching her walk past my driveway one last time, and seeing that same truck. Polished, parked, and very much still there. I gave her a little wave. Visual harmony, right? I said. It's funny how some people think power means control. But real power is what you do when someone tries to take yours. I learned that standing up doesn't always mean yelling. Sometimes it means documenting, organizing, and letting the truth do the yelling for you. If you've ever dealt with an HOA tyrant or a power-hungry Karen, drop a comment. What would you have done? Or better yet, comment justice served if you made it this far. And hey, subscribe if you love seeing bullies get exactly what they deserve. Because next week, I'll tell you how my neighbor tried to sue me over a garden gnome. And yeah, that didn't end well for her either.